I'm Roopom Banerjee, President and CEO at RainDance Technologies. I'm here at ASHG in 2012 in lovely San Francisco. Great conference, great turnout, and we're seeing a lot of interest in 2 or 3 major areas. One is this entire rise of clinical sequencing, taking all the information from the Human Genome Project and finally being able to put it towards useful medical applications. And the second major trend is really the rise of personalized medicine. For the first time, we're able to see results coming out of the Human Genome Project from years of population-based studies, bringing that down to the individual level to focus on the right drug for the right patient at the right time, and that trend is definitely here to stay. RainDance Technologies was founded on the premise of being the digital biology company. And we're doing in life sciences what digital has done to the technology industry. It's absolutely revolutionized the way we think about accuracy of information, the sensitivity of being able to find small things and communicate them in incredibly sensitive ways, being able to deal with massive volumes of information and put them into customer and user-friendly venues, and also really take a lot of information and package it up into useful applications for medical and for clinical use. Instead of trying to answer generic questions around yes, no, does a patient have this disease versus that disease, we're helping researchers and ultimately we hope clinicians be able to not only answer a yes, no on a disease, but understand what type of disease, what subtype of disease, what stage of therapy is that patient at, and ultimately try to make better decisions around the choice of treatments and therapies that those patients are going to get. If you look at our 2 systems in the field today, our Thunderstorm system represents the absolute cutting edge in terms of clinical grade sensitivity, automation, quantitation, and ultimately delivering truly high quality sequence data that no other technology today can deliver, and we really occupy a unique space there. In the case of our newly launched Raindrop system for digital PCR, there we're completely changing the game. We're talking about 1,000-time improvement over a 20-year gold standard of PCR that's been well established in the industry, that's been through the FDA, and that has proven itself to be clinically useful. We're changing the game in terms of new forms of cancer detection, thinking of different ways of doing blood-based testing for a whole range of inherited diseases, and also moving into pathogen detection and viral load, which are some of the largest commercial markets and areas of highest unmet hospital needs today. We've seen in the last 5 years an absolute explosion in applications for sequencing and for PCR-based approaches to understand research and ultimately drive towards meaningful patient care. At RainDance, we're helping to push that frontier forward. For example, we've had this year alone customers at TGen, Michigan, and Hopkins who published in the New England Journal on a completely new prostate cancer variant called HOXB13 that is a predictor of future prostate cancer recurrence and early detection that represents the largest discovery in the last 10 years of all prostate cancer. That is a huge, huge clinical benefit, both for identifying patients early and ultimately driving towards therapies that could work toward the benefit of that patient. Got a great technology. The core technology is proprietary, it's unique, it's protected by a whole range and portfolio of IP, and it comes out of some of the smartest minds at Harvard and a couple of the leading universities in Europe. In terms of people, we've got put together a great team, seasoned veterans, people who've done it before in terms of leadership. And finally, in terms of focus, in our 2 businesses of sequencing and in digital PCR, we've got several commonalities. We bring the absolute cutting edge in terms of quantitation, sensitivity, multiplexing, automation, workflow, and ultimately cost per sample. And in terms of what we deliver in clinical sequencing today with our Thunderstorm product for the research community, any large-scale production lab today struggles with the long turnaround time or time to answer for a single test. They struggle with the cost per test because sequencing is still complex, it's still costly. We've brought those costs down by a factor of 3 to 5x for most of our customers, and folks like Olivier Harris-Mendy at UCSD have published quite extensively on this phenomenon. And most importantly, we deliver the best results with 100% coverage, completeness, and heterozygous conformity versus any other technology that's available out there. We know that in order to crack the blood barrier of being able to find self-recirculating DNA or self-recirculating cells at a level of 1 in 100,000, 1 in 200,000, or even down to 1 in a million sensitivity of mutant versus wild type background. We're the only technology that can do that because we have 10 million droplets per sample in which we're doing single molecule target PCR. You know, despite all the advantages in innovation and technology, we live in tough macroeconomic times. Customers are requiring more value. Hospitals are trying to reduce their costs. Entire governments are trying to find better ways to deliver Medicare, Medicaid, healthcare delivery in a way that's informed and yet cost-effective while protecting patients. And these factors create an overhang on the entire healthcare market that will make the needs of this market change and evolve over the next 10 years. It's actually a very sobering thought. When you look across governments, healthcare and defense are the only two areas that every government consistently wants to be able to reduce and yet seemingly can't find a way to do. At RainDance, we've got a different approach to things. We believe that we ultimately can bring down healthcare costs. And that starts with better information, it comes from better results for patients, and more patients being diagnosed early or finding diseases earlier than having them go through hospitals and then bring up hospital costs in that way. And so preventative healthcare, early detection, that's where our sensitivity, our quantitation, and our multiplexing really comes together in the perfect storm, really to deliver the best outcome for both patients and the healthcare system. We certainly understand the macroeconomic challenges for our customers, things like sequestration, limited academic, government funding, and so forth, but we see ourselves as part of the solution.